So good morning, everybody. Here in the room and remote. We are very happy to welcome you, all of you, for this Risk Scientific Days, which are also the kind of midterm seminar for our project of our institute in Grenoble here. And we are especially very happy to welcome the Scientific Advisory Board, a very rich audience for all over the world, who are here to provide us with kind of recommendation and evaluation and what has already been done and what we should do in the future. So we are 3 people. We are trying to lead this very nice project. So may I ask you to present you, maybe? Just. So I am Nicolas Eckert. I am working on mountain risk with a background in statistics.
I'm Sandrine Caroly, professor in ergonomics in PACTE laboratory.
Yes, and Cécile Cornou. I'm a seismologist working at ISTerre laboratory here in Grenoble.
So the idea of having 3 people with different background is obviously to share the workload, but also to have a kind of representation of the different disciplines, which is really one of the main aim of the project we are trying to construct. So before starting, maybe I shall ask the different people from the advisory board to present themselves, just to say who they are. And yeah, maybe we can start remote. Raza, people in the room can see you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. My name is Rasa Remenite Prescott, and I'm associate professor at the University of Nottingham. I head up Resilience Engineering Research Group, so we do work in risk and reliability analysis, and in recent years we moved a little bit more into the area of resilience modeling. So nice to meet you all. Sorry I can't be with you in person.
Thanks very much. Good for the carbon budget, so perfect.
Hello, this is Joanna Cultrera. I'm a seismologist and I'm working at the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology in Italy.
Okay, hello. My name is Makoto Ito. I'm from Japan, Tsukuba. I'm working on human factors issue especially on automated driving. My main research is related to traffic accident. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Kees Boersma. I'm from the Free University in Amsterdam. I'm professor on disaster governance and societal resilience, so I'm bringing in the social science perspective.
Kia ora koutou, everyone. I'm Marian Tan from New Zealand. I'm from the Joint Center for Disaster Research at Massey University. I'm a social scientist, and I look at my research looks at the intersection of people, technology, and disasters.
Good morning, my name is Diana Contreras. I'm lecturer in geospatial science at Cardiff University. I work in the topic of disaster management, and I brought also the spatial dimension to the topic.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joan Gaume. I am professor at ETH Zurich and at the WSL Institute for Snow and Avalanche Research. And my topic is alpine mass movements.
Yes, good morning. I'm Jonathan Bradbury. I'm a professor at the University of Swansea. I'm a historian and political scientist. I'm the resilience theme lead for Swansea University in the relationship with the University of Grenoble Alpes, and especially interested in developing new research projects around innovations for resilience. Thanks very much.
So thanks very much already to all of the SAB members for making it today. So for this science, one people is missing. So
I was not here yesterday evening for the dinner, so thank you. Hi everybody, I'm Marie-Ève Majar. I'm coming from Quebec, Canada. I'm full professor in ergonomics, and I'm interested on the impact of socio-ecological transition and climate change on work condition, workers' health, as well as on work activity. So I'm very pleased to be here.
And so am I. My name is Raphael Weisbrot. I'm professor at the University of Applied Sciences, Western Switzerland. I'm interested in organizational resilience and also the work of people managing the risks related to climate change. Thank you very much.
Did I forget some? No. So thanks, sorry again. And yeah, we have here many people from the institutes which are within the project, but also these are open days, so we have also people coming from partners or simply interested by the topic. So thanks to all of us for coming. So we have a rich program for these 2 days. First, we will have a kind of general presentation overview of the project, what has been done so far and where we aim to go, to get a kind of general feedback from the SAB on the overall track of the project. Then an important thing is that the institute is currently structured around 5 research clusters with some kind of small overlap, but also some specificities. And the 5 clusters will each of them give a specific talk, short, but focused on some kind of big advance. And this will constitute the rest of the program of today's presentations. Meanwhile, we will have time for questions and buffet, and a time for general questions exchange with the room at 3 p.m. this afternoon. After that, the SAB will have a closed session to share his experience, his feeling about the project, and prepare some kind of recommendation for us based on what they have seen. Tomorrow, we start again with, we have the chance of having 4 members of the SAB, which will provide some kind of general presentations about what they are doing in research and what they feel important as research questions and topics in the general framework of risk. And this will be a very nice enrichment for the days for people of the institute, and we hope to have a large audience for this presentation. This is for tomorrow morning, and tomorrow afternoon we will have a kind of semi-closed session for only the members of the bureau of the Risk Institute, to exchange with the SAB about a restitution and of what they have understood and what they recommend for the next step of the institute. So that said, I think we will start with the first overall presentation. So as we are 3 people leading the project, we will try to present this successively, all 3 of us, and also there will be some bullet points here already about the clusters, which will be presented by the head of the clusters. So the general context of the project, I think you already are aware of it, but just as a way to remember, risks related to natural disasters, to technological disaster, to biological disasters, and a combination of all of this is one of the grand challenges of our time. So two examples, one remote example, well known by your Japanese colleague probably, which is Tohoku earthquake and then the tsunami and the nuclear accident of Fukushima. So kind of archetypal example of a large natural disaster with lots of consequences for people and the environment. And more close of us, the Alex storm in the southeast of France in 2020, which caused extreme changes in the landscape of mountain valleys, as can be seen with these two pictures before and after the storm. So the valleys have been completely destroyed because of sediment transports. And still currently it's very difficult to access these valleys even 3 years after. So within this context, risk, and especially disaster risk reduction for rapid risk, but also for slower risk, is something which has become a strategic priority at various levels. At the international level, the reduction of disaster risk is something which is explicitly stated in one of the SDGs, even if it can be found also in a more diffuse way in other SDG. And there is a direct mapping with the secondary framework for disaster risk reduction, and which is currently implemented by the United Nations. Also at the international level, it is striking to see that IPCC on its objective of containing the impact of climate change is explicitly stated in a framework based on risk. And also the conceptualization of risk from IPCC with hazard, vulnerability, and exposure with this threefold representation has become more or less now the standard definition of risk at the international level. Even if obviously some communities, some disciplines have some slight variations, some slight changes around this definition, but yeah. At the national level, we have a research alliance called Alenvi, which is bringing together the different institutes and universities working on environmental issues. And there is a specific thematic group on risk in this alliance, which shows the importance of the topic for the French research, which has consequences of the national research strategy, notably in terms of funding of projects, annual or large projects. We will talk later on. At the local level, the topic of risk can be understood as part of the strategy of the university in different axes. It's not one of the main axes of the strategy of the university, but it's part of the axis which can be deciphered. And as a consequence of this priority, we are here because it was initially the willingness of the university to have something which structures the research effort of the university around risk. This is because risk, it's not only a societal issue in the context, it's also something which poses specific scientific challenges. Which cannot be completely solved focusing on other entries. So there are many, obviously, but just as bullet points, we have listed here some structuring pillars of our institute, which are taking care of risk, accounting for climate change and anthropization, which mean complex dynamics and complex evolutions which can combine on the different components of risk. So these evolutions, these dynamics can affect hazards, but they also affect exposure, vulnerability, and their combinations. Another specificity is that if we aim at containing the consequences and the damages due to risk, there is a necessity on working on a whole life cycle, which starts with preparation, alert, evacuation, reconstruction, resilience, preparation, and whatever. So it's really a kind of time continuum. And to do that, there is really a need for a systemic thinking with a holistic approach that combines disciplines and knowledge. And this is something which is clearly related to sustainability science in terms of perspective, but also really focuses on specific scientific challenges, and that's exactly what we are here, why we are here. So why here in Grenoble? So it's kind of joke, but yeah, in Grenoble you have to live with risk. There are mountains and rivers everywhere. We have industrial installation in a place which is very reduced. So there are very concrete problems of risk here. So examples, large avalanches in a mountain just over here, that came very close to this village. Very large floods in the heart of Grenoble because of the presence of the large ISTerre river. And also problems related to chemical and NATEC risk because of the industrial installation we have here. It's also something which is not new in Grenoble probably because of this location, but also because of the willingness of people to work on risk here. We have since at least 1980 very excellent mostly disciplinary research on risk and on the role of a national hub on risk. Which was, for instance, materialized by the fact that during the year 2000 there was a specific research call at the national level on risk projects, mostly related to natural hazards, which was managed from Grenoble. And we also have some specific interface structure which are still very active, like the PARN and IRMA, which have a kind of local specificity but also a national importance, which are installed here in Grenoble. So, just to take a step back, in 2018, we had already lots of research ongoing on risk in Grenoble, in a large amount of labs representing different disciplines, different risks, different point of views. So a very complete framework to assess risk, but also a kind of dispersion to address the challenge addressed by risk science. And there was an identified need to structure this research to break up silos and be able to address natural and industrial risk in a more comprehensive way, especially in the context where the national call for natural hazards, which was managed so previously from Grenoble, has disappeared since about 10 years already. So in the framework of a call for interdisciplinary projects by the university, there was a first step, a first project, what we called a cross-disciplinary program on risk, which lasted 4 years, which was ruled by Didier here in the room, and whose main objective was to conduct joint PhDs on interdisciplinary topics between teams and labs that were not completely used to work together. So it was a kind more than a project to really build an institute. It was a kind of program for joint PhD on innovative topics related to risk. So here you have the full list of the 11 PhDs. I'm not going to detail all of them, but what appeared is that this approach was extremely rich and led to interesting new results. We will just give 3 examples of these 11 PhDs. One of them was related to a combination of civil engineering, decisional science, and mathematical modeling to optimize the maintenance and the reparation of defense structure against torrential floods. The second example was a combination of archaeoseismology and which means seismic science, archaeology, and different social science to better assess the vulnerability of Inca's building in South America. And this PhD won the interdisciplinarity thesis prizes from the university. And the last example is about human behavior in during earthquakes and during seismic crisis, which also won an award in a scientific conference. I think something should move in the video, but apparently it's not. Well, the violet dots are supposed to be people, and they are supposed to move during the crisis, but and this led us with the idea that it was necessary to go further during a second step.
Okay, so I will speak about the second phase. So for the second phase, sorry, I'm a risky girl. So for the second phase, building on the success of phase 1, at least our viewpoint, our aim was to try to consolidate this effort to structure the risk research at UGA by proposing the construction of a risk institute. So what we did apply to a call from UGA called cross-disciplinary project, and we did apply to this call in order to develop this risk institute with the main goal being to put UGA at the top seed level, position in risk science at different levels, so at local level, of course, but also at national and international levels. And in the project that we submitted and that the sub-members you did receive, there are quite large section dedicated on how we are going to carry out the construction of the Risk Institute. So, of course, we did propose a timetable and so on that is presented on the left on the slide. But on the other hand, we did propose a series of milestones related to research, education, and animation with, especially with stakeholders. So our goal was to say, okay, let's try to structure the risk research at UGA, and our goal is to have something like 30 papers per year, promoting interdisciplinarity. For education, let's internationalize the existing risk summer school. Let's propose some MOOC on natural hazards and so on. And for the animation, we say, okay, we need to propose seminars, workshops, especially with local stakeholders, so public stakeholders, but also private companies, and all these NGOs working on the interface between science and society. So what we did, we said, okay, we started from these 11 PhD studies. It was during phase 1. There were a lot of researchers around, so the ecosystem of research was there. And then we gathered people together and we say, okay, let's define 5 research clusters. So we defined these 5 research clusters, and in total, these clusters gather about 120 researchers coming from about 21 research laboratories. In each cluster, so each clusters address a specific topic in the whole risk chain, but I will let the head of each clusters to present their objectives and the achievements so far. So it will be presented later. But the particularity, the specificity of each cluster is that it gathers scientists coming from human and social sciences, from geosciences, and from engineering sciences. So it is organized like that. And in each cluster, there are activities related to research, education, but also relation with the socio-economic partners. And we say that all these clusters, they should share some transversal challenges in order to promote cross projects between research clusters. So we did identify some key challenges to viewpoints, challenges related to how to define new risk measures, taking into account non-stationarity. We also defined that some methods should be developed that are able to combine both qualitative and quantitative approaches with risk assessment. We also said that we should explore at best what can be done with participatory research or research action, especially conducted with local stakeholders, how it can help for research in order to define some new risk metrics. And there was also other transversal challenges related to development of simulation and modeling platforms. And also we said to the clusters that they should think about how they can improve the links between risk assessment and health and crisis management. Because when we have a crisis, natural or technological crisis, at the end, it has some impact on the health system, and this is something that we should not forget to address. So within each cluster, they are very free to work as they want. So there are very diverse operating modes, but these clusters, some of the clusters, they are not at the same maturity level in research, because some research clusters were already well organized. There were already joint common research projects that were ongoing, underway, or close to start. And for some clusters, the idea was really to discuss about how to develop new projects on emerging scientific topics that we think are very important for risk. So the content of each cluster will be presented afterwards. So I will not talk anymore about a bit about science. I will more talk about how we are structured today. So we have a formal organization. So this is the organization of today. It may probably evolve within the next months. But today what we have the 3 leaders, and we have the management committee that is composed of the 3 leaders, and also the head of each research cluster. We have a steering committee, an international advisory board, and we have some administrative support, especially a project manager, Sylvie Perrier, some of you were in touch with. And we have working groups in order to see how to to develop teaching, how to develop infrastructure and platforms, how to develop relationships with international partners. So this is for the organizations of today. During the past 2 years, thanks to this organization, we could organize some scientific events at the scale of the institute. So there were seminars, I would say classical seminars, where we invite researchers from abroad and we provide seminars here. But there were also seminars organized with NGOs and socioeconomic partners. And there was also a seminar organized with public and private stakeholders here. We have the RISK Summer School, and there was a series of seminars with Tsukuba University. So the seminar started last fall, will be continuing within the next months. And the idea at the end is to, thanks to these seminars, the exchange between researchers from Japan and from UGA to develop common research projects. So this is at the size of the institute, but there were also some activities at seminars organized by each cluster. And here I will present, just to give you a few words about the clusters, the scientific events proposed by the clusters Innovations for Resilience. I do not know how many seminars they did organize, but I think it's more than 20, 30. You will present it. And the idea was really to discuss about how citizen data can be used for risk and vulnerability management. So this cluster did organize a series of webinars, inviting different researchers from different countries in order to address specific points related to citizen data sciences. For the communication, we have a website, and on this website we can find a lot of information. So, of course, the presentation of the project, the presentation of the clusters, but we have also all the news and events. And we have news and events, so the seminars, the webinars, and so on. And on the website, you can find some risk resources that are available. Especially, we put online the replay of the webinars or seminars. And this can be quite useful, and I think it is something that is used by our students to be able to look at this replay. So this is available through the YouTube Risk, the YouTube channel of the Risk Institute. And we also developed during the last 2 years some different small tools, tools to communicate with the Risk Institute network. We have a general mailing list with more than 600 subscribers. We have a scientific mailing list with about more than 200 researchers that receive this information. We have newsletters that are produced every month and that we receive in our email and so on. And so we have these small tools, and we also try to help coordinating responses to research calls and to try to help researchers disseminating research results. So this is something that we offer to the researchers from the Risk Institute. There are still things to be developed, and it is more or less all related to how to disseminate, make it more visible, the research products from the Risk Institute. So we need to make some effort on it in order to be more visible, or to disseminate our results. Regarding education, so we were quite lucky that the UGA launched in 2021 a graduate school. So this is a large graduate school that is composed of 16 thematic programs, and there is one thematic program on risk. And on risk, so the program is targeting risk related to technological, natural, financial risk, but also crisis management and risk prevention. And we lead this risk thematic program. And inside this program that is dedicated to master students, so the first year and the second year of the master, there is a risk summer school, but there is also a part of the teaching related to mentored research projects, where we put groups of students coming from having different academic background. We put them together, and these students are advised by at least 2 researchers coming from different labs and having different scientific backgrounds. And these researchers, they propose research projects that are at the interface between disciplines. So here you have some example of mentored research projects that were proposed by two students. So there are projects related to risk perception of permafrost warning. There are projects regarding insurance and natural hazard. There are also projects relating to how to set up decision-making tools in post-disaster reconstruction fields, and so on. And except the investment in education, we had also quite some activities trying to reinforce or to develop or link with socio-economic partners. So for us, socio-economic partners, when we talk to French people, this is very clear what is socio-economic partners, but maybe for people from abroad, it's less clear. So what we call socio-economic partners, it encompasses municipalities, all the structures that are working at the interface between science and society, the regions, engineering company, NGOs, and so the public and the private sectors. So what we did when we started the project, we quite early after the start of the project, we organized a first workshop with these socio-economic partners in order to identify what was the expectations of these partners from the Risk Institute. And we also asked them how they could contribute on the long term to the Risk Institute. So this was the first work in 2022. Last year, we did organize a large event on risk anticipation. This event was focusing on what are the new tools and technologies for risk anticipation. And this event was co-organized with 2 science society interface structures, PAN and IRMA, that are very active on the territory. So we did co-organize this event with the socio-economical partners. And with PAN and IRMA, we also did prepare and organize some serious games, simulation tools, and on risk. So risk can be landslides. On risk also, there were a serious game organized it was about the domino effect on healthcare system in case of a natural crisis. And finally, I will stop with, I will end with the role of the Institute of the cluster as a whole in raising fundings. In fact, where we were funded by UGA to build this Risk Institute, but the amount we received was very small, 350 euros. So with these fundings, it was really dedicated to hire a project manager and IT people, some very small money for the scientific animation, but there was no fundings for research. And UGA told us, for research, you need to raise fundings by yourself. So we were quite active for searching fundings. And actually, we can say after 2 years that the organization in clusters and as an institute was quite an efficient and reactive network, because during the last 2 years we could raise more than 10 million euros. Fundings coming from national, international, and local levels. There was for us a very interesting opportunity. It was what we call it in France. In France, we say this is the France 2030 national initiative. So the French government decided to launch a series of very large projects. So each project, it's about from 50 to 100 millions of euros. And they say, okay, we will fund research, exploratory projects on research on a series of very big projects on specific and crucial challenges for society. So today there are about 20 large projects that were funded by the government. These are 10 years projects, because the goal from the French government is that in this big project you need to, it should encompass all the scientific community at the national level, working on some specific scientific challenges. So the Risk Institute was quite present in these projects that we call PEPR in French, or PEPR in English, but I prefer to say it in French, PEPR. And we did submit some projects in PEPRs related to forests, sustainable cities, applications of maths, but we were quite involved in the risk PEPR. So this is the risk PEPR. The former name was IRIMA. So this is the IRIMA risk PEPR. The head, this PEPR is related to natural and technological risk in the context of global change. And the PEPR is co-led by UGA. And the co-pilot for UGA is Didier Georges, who is here in pink. So if you want to discuss with him, you can discuss with Didier. So this PEPR is led by UGA. The organization of the PEPR is quite inspired by the organization of all clusters that started before the PEPR. And some people from the Risk Institute are at key positions in this PEPR. And so far, we could get through this project more than 4 million euros. So I will end with a short quantitative summary. These are only numbers, but just to tell you that we were quite successful to raise some fundings. So through this PEPR, but not only, we could also get some fundings from the French National Research Agency, from European projects, industrial projects, and so on. For the scientific production, we did publish 97 publications. So we have 100 researchers, but these 97 publications, these are the publications that researchers from the Risk Institute decided to declare at the Risk Institute. Okay, so these are not we didn't collect all the publications of the researchers affiliated to the Risk Institute. We just asked them, please put the publications you want to appear at the Risk Institute. So 97 publications, 5 books and chapters. We had also some activities in order to foster international collaboration. We visit in Canada, in Quebec, visit in Switzerland, webinars with Tsukuba University, and also webinars and seminars with Swansea University. And of course, we had some activity organizing workshop and seminars with socio-economic partners and the risk graduate school that I already talked about. So I will stop here, and from now I will give the floor to the head of the different clusters so that they can present you the objectives of the cluster, their achievement for the last 2 years, and their perspective. So the first cluster to present this is the mountain risk cluster. So, Guillaume. Juste le temps.
How much time?
Cinq minutes.
5 minutes.
Désolé.
I see. So good morning, everyone. So yeah, I will say a few words about this mountain risk cluster, or the whole name actually is mountain risk in the context of global change. So this cluster is coordinated by myself, Guillaume Chambon, with a background more in geosciences and geomechanics. Floris Giacona, who is a historian and specialist of geohistory, and Pascal Hagenmüller in snow and climate sciences. So really the main idea and objective behind the creation that led to the creation of this cluster was to promote the visibility and to help structuring the already very large community that was present in Grenoble and in the area around Grenoble on this topic of mountain risk, as it was already mentioned. So the community involved several labs in Grenoble University. You can see the names of the labs here, but it also involves obviously a lot of different socio-economic partners, such as stakeholders, state services, and a lot of different private companies involved in consulting, engineering, mountain industries, transportation industries, and so on. So this community was already very active, and there were already a lot of ongoing collaborations between these partners. And so the objective of the cluster, the creation of the cluster, was really to leverage on and to amplify these dynamics in order to tackle ambitious scientific challenges, such as, for instance, improving the understanding of the specificities of mountain risk in all their components, such as also improving the understanding on the future trajectories of these risks in the context of global change, and also challenges related, obviously, to the development of new and of innovative mitigation and reduction measures. So we really have the critical mass within the cluster to tackle these issues in a truly multidisciplinary and integrated fashion, by improving knowledge, for instance, on all the different components of risk, and the physical and the socio-economic, socio-environmental processes at play, and also by, for instance, trying to couple different approaches, such as coupling statistical or process-based model with future socio-environmental and climatic projections, for instance. So in terms of field sites, we work obviously in mountain areas, mainly in the French and in the European Alps, but we also have projects in other mountain ranges in France and abroad. So on this next slide, I wanted to give just a few examples to illustrate the large variety of activities that are conducted within the cluster. So these are results extracted from recent publications by members of the cluster. So I do not enter into details here, but it's just to illustrate that first we address, as you can see, all types of mountain hazards. So we address torrential floods, debris flows, ice avalanches, glacier-related risks, snow avalanches, rockfalls, etc. So all types of mountain risks. And for that, we develop and we use also a large variety of advanced methods and tools, including different types of modeling, mechanical, statistical modeling, including geohistory, as I already mentioned, geomorphology and remote sensing, machine learning and artificial intelligence, and also social sciences, and probably I'm also forgetting other skills and disciplines. So a wide variety of approaches. In terms of ongoing projects, the same here. I only mention a few examples of currently ongoing projects that involve the members of the cluster, also to illustrate the variety of funding partners and funding agencies. So there are very targeted research projects focused on the development of specific models or specific tools. There are more integrative projects focused, for instance, on the development of collaborative experimental or numerical platforms. There are projects dedicated to the operational transfer of our research results, or dedicated to the building up of awareness and information actions toward different audiences. And there are also partnerships, structuring partnerships with private partners, either, for instance, joint laboratories or very large national projects that involve all the socioeconomic sector in the domain of workforce in this case. And so, as it was already mentioned, the cluster in particular was very active in the past years in the building up of the PEPR on the risk PEPR, and in particular on the mountain risk sub-project of this PEPR. And through this sub-project, which is called IRIMON, we will actually have the opportunity in the upcoming years to start several PhD and postdoc projects. I give a short list of the topics here. And really all these topics are fully in line with the objectives of the project. And so this is for us an exceptional opportunity to develop science and in an integrated and multidisciplinary framework in the years to come. Besides, we will continue our activities to foster collaboration and promote development of new research and new innovation actions between the members of the clusters. We also want to be more active in the organization of scientific and technical events, such as seminars or workshops, in order to create more opportunities for the members of the cluster to gather and to meet and to discuss. And maybe as a kind of longer term perspective, we have also the ambition to build an offer for lifelong education in the domain of mountain risk that would be more targeted towards stakeholders and engineers in particular. So I think I'll stop here. And
thank you, Guillaume. Next cluster is engineering asset.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Julien Varotte. I am associate professor in the 3SR laboratory, Soil Solid Structure Risk Laboratory, about mechanics, reliability, civil engineering. And there are 3 other colleagues leading with me this cluster. Christophe Berenguer from GIPSA working on reliability and maintenance, monitoring, stochastic modeling. Geoffrey and Nicolas from CERAG lab, rather about management, science, finance, insurance. And Jean-Marc Tacquenet in INRAE, also in civil engineering, and rather about information science, decision making. And perhaps we knew before the cross-disciplinary project, but we really started to work together with the cross-disciplinary project a few years ago, and we decided to gather other colleagues that are not quoted to work rather on methodological challenges about generic approaches about quantitative risk modeling and assessment, not particularly on a specific hazard risk, but about also not only natural hazard, but also technological, financial exposure sets as part as complex systems. If possible, taking into account interaction, taking into account the global change, climate change also. And the idea is to help decision, to produce some quantitative decision-making methodologies. So we participated to supervise some PhD in the framework of the last cross-disciplinary project, and we also supervised other PhD that were not financed by the cross-disciplinary project, and that because of the CDP, of the Risk Institute creation, we thought about the opportunity to be involved in several partnerships. So of course, we are also involved in IRIMA PEPR risk program in natural and technological risk and mountain PC. And thanks to this partnership, this Risk Institute, we were able to generate industrial chair with the Grenoble INP Foundation. We develop a partnership with European Safety Reliability Data Association and two LabEx, two network of laboratory already existing in the university are involved in our cluster. And finally, both of us, three of us were already involved in the French Institute for Risk Management, and we involved this institute in order to participate to the life of our Grenoble Risk Institute. So I just give you a second slide to give you some examples, some illustrations. We can say that most of our part of our activities concern the resilience assessment of critical infrastructures, and this is the name of a project that we defend and we want to develop in the framework of ESREDA, this European network for reliability. And of course, we have already concluded some PhD, particularly about, I would say, aging of infrastructure, and it will be the topic that I will develop later in the morning. And we really feel that fostering interdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary activities in the university is necessary and can be done, encouraging short proposal, even with low financial support, but in order to propose new partnership, new collaboration between colleagues working in different laboratories, and we are preparing a call for proposal for next year. So, of course, we have involved, as many of us in the Risk Institute, in the thematic program of the graduate school in order to contribute to the summer school, to teaching project, and to try to develop a new PhD with companies, because a particularity, I would say, in our cluster, it is that we have really strong relationship with some companies, and the aim is to work with them, and not alone because we are specialized, but all together, thanks to this Risk Institute, we can face to, for example, the aging of all infrastructure in France, in around Grenoble also. Thank you.
Thank you, Julien. You can see the cluster have a different level of maturity and identity. It's really important for us to respect the cluster identity. Now we have time for anthropisation cluster presented by Philippe Garnier.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Philippe Garnier. I'm an architect. I'm coordinating the cluster called not only anthropization, but anthropization, natural hazards and ability, which is so very important to mention and so on. I'm a researcher at the National School of Architecture in Grenoble and a member of the research unit called AE and CC, which means Architecture, Environment and Building Culture, which is also a LabEx. It's a part of the French system of excellency laboratory. We have two other coordinators for this cluster, Laurence Audin from ISTerre, Geosciences, and Yannick Siffer from ISTerre, the same lab as Julien, and so on. In fact, before even the start of our project, I mean, before the first phase, we were already working on a particular issue, earthquake resistance with ISTerre. That means we have a quite long history, and we were also involved in collaboration with ISTerre regarding issue related to archaeoseismology, which I'm going to develop later on. So the specificity of our cluster is more about human settlement and social sciences, but involving geosciences and civil engineering. And the other specificity of our cluster, we do not have as others, strong contact with the private sector, because we work mainly with communities. We have an history within our team to work in the global south, mainly with the NGO sectors, the humanitarian sectors, etc., working with the academic sector as well, of course. And our approach in architecture is mainly related to what we call local building materials. That means the use of local resources. So the cluster is somehow based on this type of approach. That's why we have this specificity. The idea is that territory are very diverse around the world, and before the industrial periods, people were already encountering hazards, disaster, and they have to manage with their own environment, their own resources. So what was existing is a great resources for identifying a certain number of interesting solution that was taken by different group of people around the world that could be, we believe, very useful in our periods. When we talk about frugal innovations or reduction of the impact of the building sector, which is one of the most impacting against with the climate change and so on. So the idea is really to bring now in more structural way these geosciences, archaeoseismology, because we both work on archaeology with ISTerre and so on, and with civil engineering to better characterize and document the impact of the hazard on our own built environment at various levels, and to see how adaptation strategy can be developed by society, not only at the level of the building itself, but also at the level of the social ecosystem, how the different actors used to manage, and to be able to offer different options to decision makers, to donors around the world about strategy to do either post-disaster reconstruction or even new development in the building sector, thinking, for example, about the African continent, where there is huge needs due to demography of new construction and so on. The methodology and tool that we use are based on the archaeoseismology. We again, I'm going to talk a little bit more, and the local building culture multi-scale approach. We also use some modeling at the level of civil engineering in relation with experimental work Oh, I've already finished. I'm just at the beginning. Yes, and to couple the modeling aspect with the experimental, we have developed a shaking table at 3SR, the civil engineering research lab. Multidisciplinarity, it encompasses at this stage archaeology, architecture, civil engineering, geography, geomorphology, sociology, territory science. But you will probably see that there are some missing disciplines, very important. One of them is, for example, economy, which we are trying also to get some link with. We have developed strong partnership not only within the UGA, and we continue to develop in the future this strengthening of collaboration between labs through the future LabEx consortium, which will start next year. And we have also very strong collaboration, for example, with University of Oxford, UCL, Oxford Brookes in UK, but also some southern university like PUCP, like Católica in Peru, or in country like Iran, because we have worked a lot in Iran, in Yazd, etc. I will not name all of them. We work a lot with UN system, also UNESCO, UN Habitat, UNEP, etc., etc. And yes, we have quite a lot of sites, I would say. I just focus on IT, Peru, and Iran, which are the most important at this stage for us. But we are going to develop something very specific to Central Asia. Ongoing project, one is about Nepal, where we have documented with partners, Nepalese partners, and thanks to Oxford Brookes EWAP program, the Tamang Himalayan architecture, where we found that it was something totally new and even against the scientific knowledge to see how this construction were able to resist to earthquakes. So we have to learn from this part and to understand. The Archeosismo project that I'm going to speak, and local building culture and post-disaster reconstruction, which is one big part I'm not going to develop, that we helped the decision makers in the humanitarian sector to take into account local strategy and local building culture. So as well as others here, as other cluster, as other research lab, we're involved in the PAPR-IRIMA. We have a project that we hope to start, but news are not so good, with New Caledonia, about island resilience due to climate change, and taking into account also the specificity of culture, specificity of land tenure aspect, etc., etc. We are also right now busy trying to do something about another course, and we have many links, in fact, with other cluster, which I think is also very important to mention. So I stop here. Sorry for the 2 minutes more. And
this cluster of anthropization have a lot of interaction with other cluster, engineering asset, University of Resilience, and Telerik. So, Julie, you present Telerik cluster?
No, this is me.
It's Cécile. Sorry.
Julie will speak this afternoon. Yes, for the Telerik crisis and risk cluster. So this is a cluster led by 3 people: Julie Dugdal, who is a computer scientist; Elise Beck, who is a geographer; myself as a seismologist, and I will soon be replaced by Pascal Lacroix, who is also working in ISTerre and is a specialist in remote sensing. So the objectives of the cluster is to work on Telerik risk and crisis models that are able to integrate various physical, but also psychological, social dimensions, and that include various temporal and spatial factors. So our goal in this cluster is really to to focus on the crisis phase, so a bit before a crisis and a bit after, but also the crisis phase, that is a phase that is very poorly documented and very poorly understood. And we thought that it was there are some scientific challenges trying to decipher all the mechanism at play during a crisis, both from a physical perspective, about natural processes, and also from a social and psychological perspectives. So as tools and methods, we are using a lot of various data that are physical and social data that are available, especially during crises. We are always doing back and forth studies between experiments, experimental data, simulation, proxies, and so on. We develop some surveys for risk perception that can be qualitative or quantitative, and we are using a lot simulation modeling, so multi-agent modeling, physics-based simulation, and artificial intelligence tools. So this is a cluster that is quite multidisciplinary. We have geosciences, of course, but we have also applied maths, computer science, and we have sociology, psychology, and a lot of researchers from various fields. Regarding the partnership, we have, of course, partnerships here at the local level at UGA with different labs. Regionally, with a team in Chambéry specialized in remote sensing for natural hazard. A team also at INSA in Lyon. At the national level, we put here the name of the institutes we are working on today. And we have also quite a number of collaboration at international level with different universities. And we are working a lot at international levels because regarding telluric risk, of course, France, in the Alps, we have some, but the largest events are not really in France. We can find it abroad. And we are working a lot in Greece, in Peru, Nepal, India, but also in Lebanon and Indonesia. And in these two countries, we have already international research networks that were set up before the start of the Risk Institute, but we have very long-term and formal collaboration with universities from these countries. So I want also to illustrate, I cannot go? Yes, I want to illustrate this, what we are doing. So here it's moving. We are doing here, this is an example of agent-based simulation of people's evacuation during a seismic crisis. So we can do modeling, that's fine, but to get robust and reliable and useful modelings, we need to both be good in, so here it was during an earthquake, to be good in predicting the damages at the building level, predicting the debris on the ground, and also predicting the behavior of people. And for the behavior of people, this is poorly documented, I would say, poorly known, and this is the reason why we are developing surveys, target survey, in order to understand how people they behave in case of a flood, an earthquake, a fire, in order to input it in our simulation tools. Another example, this is here an example from Kristen Cook. She was using various data, seismological data with various methods, but she was also using videos in order to be able to track quite in a real time the flow. This is a flow, I think this is in Himalaya. It should be in Himalaya or in India. So she was able to really track the large flow in Himalaya using this integrated, combining these various data and methods. In the cluster, we also develop urban observatory, so citizen observatory. Here, this is an example of the observatory that we set up in Beirut, in Lebanon, where we equipped buildings with sensors related to air pollution, meteorological data, and also seismic stations. So this is running today. And we have also the particularity that we are trying to find what could be the new data to be used in order to be able to to have quantitative proxies for ground movement close to the fault. Because this is a part close to the fault, we have poor sparse observation. So we try to use funeral slabs, displacements of funeral slabs or up-thrown stones to be able to get some quantities on that. And so this is some observation we had during a magnitude 5 earthquake in France 2 years ago. So this was a moderate earthquake, but close to the fault, we have displacement of funeral slabs of about 10 centimeters. And I'm happy to show you an experiment that was done on a shaking table with the anthropization cluster. It was done, this is a movie of yesterday. And you can see we did replay the earthquake, and you see that the slabs could be displaced. And we are quite stimulated and excited about this experiment. So to go on, I need to go on. So we have an ongoing project related to agent-based modeling for flooding, fires, earthquakes. We have also with anthropization cluster studies really between earthquakes, climate change and cultural heritage. We have this citizen observatory. We have projects to develop new laboratory and experimental data. And we have also quite a number of studies trying to make the best use of remote sensing data in order to be able to produce physics-based simulation and proxies for hazard and risk model, reliable at a very small spatial scales, at the scale of few meters to few tens of meters. For the future work that are about to start, we have fundings to work better, to work more on the relationship between science and society regarding citizen data. So this is for the observatory we have in Beirut. We have also a large project to dedicated how we can collect all this information we have on the web, on social media during a crisis, how it can be helpful to extract human behavior, but also physical processes during this crisis, and some projects related to the use of telecom fiber optics to be able to use it for getting indicators useful in earthquake engineering, and also that could be useful to track mobility, the mobility of population during a crisis. And we have a lot of animation at the cluster level, and we try to develop partnerships, and we are involved in education. That's it.
Thank you, Cécile.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for sharing with us this project and this moment. So I will go as fast as possible. So I will present the Innovations for Resilience cluster, which is a very young one, probably the younger, and not only because it's an emerging field in research, but also because for the researchers that are interested in this cluster, most of them have never collaborated before. So I would say that by the end of the 19th centuries, the idea that technologies, and especially information technologies, could improve crisis and risk management raised in the academic community. But there is also a phenomenon linked to the idea that with resilience, technologies would not only support the actions of the management experts, crisis management experts, but also citizens. So in this cluster, we are interested in a specific kind of innovations that really targeting communities and citizen empowerment. That means that trying to develop solutions, technological solutions that empower or try to empower people in the way they can deal with risk, they can deal with their vulnerability. So the idea of this cluster is to question the idea is to what extent these solutions can really empower people, to what extent involving public concern in risk management through these solutions improve individual and collective resilience. And we have a lot of questions related to empowerment, of course, but also in the way that this change also challenge the role of risk management experts, but also governance, risk governance, and policies management. So we have a lot of methodology and tools, different methodology and tools. We are starting project together. So I wouldn't say that it's completely stabilized, but I would say that this cluster, probably it's one of the cluster which is mostly social sciences driven, okay? But more and more we talk together. I think most of our colleagues from natural geosciences and information system sciences are more and more interested in looking at how they can use these debates, discussions in their own discipline. So we have also, of course, analysis of public policies targeting citizen and vulnerable populations. We try to analyze, but I would say we both try to have these two positions, analyzing the development of these solutions, but also accompanying them, being with research action. Okay, so it's this double position we try to have. So we have a lot of collaborations with colleagues in collaborative design, and I'm co-leading the Innovations for Resilience cluster with Jean-François Boujou, who is engineer in collaborative design. And I also mentioned Jean-Luc Bosson, who is working in public health, but also in technology related to public health. So we try to develop new methodology in collaborative design and also analyzes the implementations and the result as, for example, STS, social and technology, society and technology sciences, to see how this collaborative design methodology shape these technologies and then the way people can adopt them. And also what we produce is also new knowledge about risk perception and risk management through the use of these technologies. So we have a different multidisciplinarity. I go faster. The partnership, just to mention that we work with both municipalities very close to Grenoble, Alpes municipalities. We have also partnership with Fab Labs that are in Grenoble. We have a lot of Fab Labs in the Alpes region, but also low-tech networks. And we also have a partnership with people and field work in both in very close to Grenoble Alps, but also on the French national territory or in Lebanon, Morocco, or far away. Just I wanted, if I have time, to develop a few presentations about our main activities and result. As Cécile mentioned before, main activity of the cluster, because we are trying to build this community, was to share our issues, scientific issues, and so on. So we organized a lot of regular workshops, 13 in 22-23, and 7 this year. I will present them this afternoon, so I will not go, but it's really a very important moment of debate, this workshop series. And then we also have a research project. I would just like to mention some of them. I will talk about the ODISLU and some other projects this afternoon, but just to explain, we have, for example, the first project, which is, so these are all ongoing projects. We have a project which is ISTerre with the communities and municipalities very close to in the middle mountain of the Alps, where we try to develop collaborative methodology, gathering people that are not used to communicate with each other about what could be a desirable and sustainable territory where they live or where they work, with this very big challenge where people have external conflict because they are belonging from different world and different interests, but also they have internal conflict, tensions related to, for example, the territory. For example, we would like a very good picture, a very good yes, a very good picture of this territory. We would like to improve the picture of the territory for people out of our territory, but in the same time, we don't want tourism. We would like to have money, income, but we don't like strangers and so on. So, you know, people have to deal with these tensions, internal tensions. Another project mentioned by Cécile, because we have a lot of projects and discussions with the cluster TELRIC, is about, for example, the Citizen Observatory in Lebanon, where we not only question how it can improve building monitoring, but also how it changes the way people perceive risk, but also the political use of such data, such sensors, because when you put sensors in the home of people, they can produce a lot of information and use a lot of this data for risk governance issues. I stop there. Okay.
Thank you, Sandrine. After this presentation of 5 clusters, I will to take time with you to explain what is important to formalize the Risk Institute. Cécile, we have presented you the phase 2 of Risk Institute, and you can see we have developed a lot of funding, scientific webinar with different maturity level of cluster. We will build interdisciplinary risk institute with a lot of research, 130 from 21 labs organized with cluster and transversal challenge. We have also a network of partners, private actors and stakeholders to respond of needs regarding risk situation and management. And we have also ambition of scientific animation with cluster and the scale of the institution. And despite a few budget, we have ability to access of sufficient funding at local and national and international levels from public or private funder. So we bring a position of Risk Institute to develop the international levels. For example, we have 3 papers for years, many promoting interdisciplinary projects, co-funding a large national European project, and also a big network with 500 contacts, and we must continue to develop this partnership. We have also international with summer school, with MOOC, to develop training and communication with different stakeholders and networks. So we have still missing of formal statute for Risk Institute to develop the existence of the dynamic in a long term and specific dynamic in complex system, a complex landscape. Why is it important for us to formalize the Risk Institute? It's our mission of the goal expected by Université Grenoble-Alpes to construct this dynamic with a long range and find a specific place in complex landscape and identity of Risk Institute, and reinforce this dynamic and to obtain the more result. For example, the dynamic of Risk Institute facilitates to access of funding and to develop more relation and to empowerment. What's happened is not possible. The risk is to return to business and disciplinary research within labs. Also stop the dynamic, the very good dynamic initiated, and miss the chance to give priority and challenge of our time. So it's very important to formalize and structure this institute. How formalizing the Risk Institute, we have realized a cartography on complex research landscape. This cartography is possible because we have realized several meetings with individual stakeholders and to more define most suitable formal organization, for example, federation or maybe scientific interest group called GIS for strong and continue the dynamic. It's very important for us to have a structure flexible and interfaced with a complex landscape. To represent you the complexity, the territories of risk science. We have French National Research Institution, CDP-RISK Institute, national research organism like INRIA, IRD, INRAE, other national establishment. We have also national research programs like PEPR and other PEPR of risk and new program agency. In Grenoble Alpes University, we have pole with different disciplines, environment, social science, physics, math, and we have research lab, engineering school, INP, IEP, etc. And other existing transversal structure like LABEX OZUG, for example, or federation, SFR Innovax, or institution of EA. So, Risk Institute must be find their identity and collaboration with others. Existing also interface structure, local and national and international, and research partners in France, in different universities, and also in international, Tsukuba, Quebec, Amsterdam, etc. And it's very important to formalize also with partners of company and local and national stakeholders. We will not to be in competition with research landscape. Our project is to be completed, to have a collaboration, to develop a co-design with all the structure, and have the capabilities to respond of funding and organize the interaction of different networks in this complex system. Work in progress. What is the next step? Also, we have we expected the green light of the SAB to go on, and I hope not to go on. It's very important to exchange with a local and national structure concerned by the project. National structure, organism, LABEX, other structure already existing in Grenoble, and the research labs. Today, already, we have meet 18 actors, director of structure, CNRS, research lab, organism in France, maybe very important for the project. We must continue and reinforce joint work activities choose the formal organization for the institute, federation or GIS, and formal links, including the role of governance of this institute and support, including funding. To propose the formal organization in a long term of Risk Institute, including governance mechanism and functioning, we must need a small budget, a routine budget, to finance the project manager and continue to realize the scientific animation and to have a possibility to project scientific, etc. And communication also, and have feedback and polishing to the project to finalize it. In the same time, initial formal connection is very important for us with international structure to link activity already existing, but it's possible to have another institute, for example, in Switzerland or another country, and connecting with this different institute in international structure. And we hope SAB members can help us in this project. And we will realize and organize a formal kickoff of Risk Institute 2025 to continue and following Risk Institute. So this formalization is never stop the challenge of topics, of new topics in risk science. Challenge every day more in cluster, in global institute, more diversity and complexity. For example, hospital functioning with crisis, or maybe mega fire in crisis. We have a lot of needs to address within the institute, transversal topics, or maybe we must have a new cluster in future. For example, the topics is health system management, impact of climate change on risk occurrence management and resilience and insurance, human behavior with crises and consequences, territorial co-design of solution to improve resilience, historical approach, it's very important also, of risk management, technological and numerical innovation combined with use sensing with citizen sensor, digital twins, or multi-agent modeling, and also multi-risk, including cascading effect, domino effect in complex and holistic approach. So I think it's important to close the presentation with thank you of all colleagues for the strong work for this history. It's important to maintain this collective dynamics.